Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and Devin and I are continuing... Shut up! I don't know why it autoplayed. Our Middara series, we just got done doing the longest scenario. Single scenario. That was just miserable, but I'm guessing was their only way of giving us a bunch of money, because we are now at 827. We got like 400 gold in that entire thing.
Nice.
Ugh, jeez, but man, not a fun way to get a lot of money. Like, they can't just have us talk to someone and be like, hey man, thanks for helping us, here's some money. Anyway, that's in the past. Moving forward with Into the Earth. This is most likely going to be a story episode, so enjoy.
As they neared the mountains, crags of rock began breaking through the forest. Shayla's turned around as they neared a bend, stopping the group. Okay, guys, I need you to stop and realize what we're trying to do, she said. I don't think you guys understand how powerful a Shadow Lord is. These things are unkillable. The only thing we can hope to do here is get in and out with the Pontifex piece, and pray to God we aren't noticed by the Shadow Lord. We need to get justice, too, Zeke added. Shayla gave him a weak nod.
Yes.
If she's still alive, we'll save her. They continued around the bend, coming to a dead halt as they saw what the outcropping was concealing.
Justice, there you are! It's the Shadow Lord wearing her face.
Zeke!
My love, I miss you. Come give me a kiss. Long tongue.
A massive chasm opened in the ground in front of them, stretching so far that its most extreme edge was hidden by shadow. The gaping pit was intimidating enough on its own, but it was also surrounded with a shimmering bubble of energy that stretched as far as the stone of the mountain before vanishing into the rock. A single object floated in the air, about 30 feet up. It seemed to be made of rock, though Nightingale's eyes refused to focus as she narrowed her attention on it. She felt a slight pain in the back of her head, the same sensation she felt when she had first seen the Malum manifested. It was a shape that shouldn't exist, one her mind couldn't really understand. Jagged gears and protrusions of stone moved, bending through themselves and emerging changed on the other side. Beside her, Zeke stooped down and picked up a rock, then tossed it at the bubble. It stopped dead in the air before it struck, hovered there a moment, then came flying back at him like a bullet. He barely ducked in time.
Piercing his skull, killing Zeke instantly. Aww. That's a little disappointing.
Zeke has died. Remove him from the campaign.
It's just like that. They just start picking us off one by one. Then we go to a somber realization.
A somber realization. Shit! Shayla's pulled out her map again, staring at it with concern. She flipped it in several directions. After pulling at it and twisting it around, she crumpled it up and threw it on the ground. What are you doing? Rick rushed over and grabbed the map, pulling it open and smoothing it out. Well, my map is apparently outdated, or the cartographer was a dumbass, or... Nightingale stepped up to her sister, grabbing her by the shoulders. What's the problem? Bad news, Shayla said. It's all bad. Everything's bad. I should have recognized the direction we were heading. I should have remembered. She cursed again as everyone stared at her expectantly.
We're gonna die.
This is the Eyrie. There's no possible way to get in there. Justice is lost. That piece of the Pontifex is lost. What do you mean? Zeke sounded surprised that Shayla was giving up. Shayla shook her head. You don't understand. Shayla looked at the green glow for a moment. That's the Aegis Stone. That's the only thing keeping the hordes of monsters down there from escaping. Damocles stepped up. Can't we just break it?
There we go. That's my boy.
Any barrier can be broken. That stone is the only reason Greyhaven is safe.
Who cares?
Shayla shot him a look. This whole place was absolutely overrun with creatures before Lo and Ida used the Aegis Stone to close the Eyrie off years ago. A lot of people died before the Eyrie was sealed off, and that was before Greyhaven was nearly as populated as it is now. If this stone were to break, the creatures that lurk inside would spill out. Even if we could open it, we shouldn't. Okay, well, let's just open it long enough to get in and close it behind us, Nightingale said desperately. We don't need to open for long. Not long enough to put Greyhaven in danger anyways. Shayla's put a hand on her shoulder. That's not how it works. The Xiangs had to kill a dragon to create the Aegis Stone in the first place. It's not something that you can turn on and off, and it's not something we can break. Okay, well, is it possible that Tyrael or Abigail know anything? Damocles asked. Echo was able to send justice in there somehow, so it's not impossible to get in without breaking it. That's a good idea, Shayla said. Greyhaven isn't far, so we can just head back and check with them. Just remember this. We can't risk the lives of thousands of people just for one person,
Sure we can.
Shayla said, glancing at Nightingale for a moment. Regardless of how we feel about them. Nightingale nodded fervently and turned to leave. Behind her, one of her friends didn't move. Zeke? Nightingale spun, realizing he wasn't following. I just can't leave her here. Zeke was staring at the Aegis Stone floating nearby. Nightingale saw the pain in his eyes as she leaned around him to look him in the face. Zeke, I need you. She put a hand on his shoulder. Zeke looked up and could see the physical toll that the Malum had taken on his friend. Nightingale's pale skin was contrasted against her sunken dark eyes. He had thought she was wearing eyeliner since they landed, but now he could see that she wasn't. Nightingale smiled. Even through her obvious malaise, her wide grin showed bright teeth. We'll save her. You probably don't want to let your mother know you're swooning over another girl, though. They had such high hopes for us uniting the Arson and Jiang family. Even when Nightingale felt terrible, she still joked around, and Zeke couldn't help but feel lucky to have her as a friend.
And he wants to reiterate, as a friend.
As a friend. We're just friends, Nightingale.
Do we have the story flag reluctant partnership? No, we do not. No, we do not. So we are going to that one. The Amaranthine.
The Amaranthine.
Man,
Nightingale was pleasantly surprised to find they faced no serious danger on their way back to Greyhaven. By the time late afternoon had changed to early evening, they were back at the outskirts of the city. Greyhaven had already come alive with light. Tens of thousands of little fires and chunks of glowstones flickering throughout the city. They found their way to a gondola station and waited for their turn to ride up through the floating islands. After finding out about the Aegis Stone, Nightingale had trouble enjoying the trip. She spent most of the ride staring out the window at the little lights below. 4 guards in Greyhaven uniforms gave them grumpy looks as they arrived at the Amaranthine. It's getting late. You'd better have important business, one of the men said sternly. Shaylis gave him an annoyed nod. I suggest you be careful how you talk to members of the royal family. You serve the Jiang family, and you don't even recognize their newest scion? The guard at least had the good sense to look abashed. He returned to attention, saluting her. Forgive me, Princess Shaylis. We weren't expecting you. Farlan! See them to the throne room. He waved to a shorter man wearing the same style of armor. I assume you're meeting your cousin, Lord Jiang. Zeke nodded. Yeah, thanks. Farlan rushed over and ushered them into the castle with a brief bow. They walked down wide corridors lined with magnificent works of stained glass, past dozens of soldiers and castle functionaries, until they reached a massive chamber. Nightingale could feel the magic in the air, making her hair stand on end. It felt like she was standing beneath a high-voltage power line. At the end of the hall was a circle of strange markings on the floor, cast in metal. They surrounded a space perhaps 10 feet across with a purple glow. Shaylis knew what to do, walking purposely past Nightingale towards the circle. What are we supposed... Nightingale began, but too late. This way, my lords and ladies, Farlan announced as he stepped up to the circle. Follow me. As soon as Farlan stepped inside the circle, he rose off the ground, floating quickly straight through the opening in the castle above and out of sight. Rook gave them a smile before falling backwards onto the magical symbols, rising with his arms out. Zeke stepped forward with a devious grin, looking at Remy. He walked up to her and pet Gage, who was sitting on her shoulder. Gage looked at him skeptically, but quickly accepted the rubbing. After a moment, he picked Gage up gently. We don't get funny cat videos here, Remy. Zeke tried to stifle a laugh. I miss it. I miss the cat videos. What are you talking about? Remy raised an eyebrow. Zeke turned back to the circle and held
Her name
Gage
was Hot Sauce, and I loved her. I hope someone breaks your neck one day, you murderer.
Remy lunged to catch Gage, but Zeke let go before she could snag him. Gage gently flopped out of Zeke's hands and rolled towards the ground with a surprised squeal. Before he hit the floor, he spun around and began to rise. Gage tried to move in the air, his little legs flailing as he continued up. Instead of moving, he slowly started doing barrel rolls, making little squeaking noises as he disappeared up and through the hole above them. Zeke doubled over laughing as Remy jumped into the circle after Gage. "Oh no, Gage!" Remy's voice faded as she followed Gage. Nightingale tried to keep a straight face, but the vision of Gage's cute little paws batting at the air was too much for her.
Did you? Shred, like flies off. It's not calibrated for them. Shoots off and just disintegrates. What have you done?
Yeah, the Aegis core starts shattering. City falls. Ooh. Get us out of here.
We don't allow cats in Middara.
Giggles. "You guys are ridiculous." Damocles frowned and walked into the circle.
God, buzzkill.
When Nightingale recovered,
I'm guessing your
only
mom
her and
doesn't
Shayless were
kiss
still on
on
the
you.
lower platform. From the room above her, she could faintly hear Remy chastising Zeke. Nightingale glanced over towards her sister. Shayless was looking with a blank stare up towards the throne room above them. "Scared of heights?" Nightingale asked dumbly, but she succeeded in breaking her concentration. Shayless blinked and smiled at her. "Of course not. I just haven't seen Tyrael or Abigail in a long time. I'm ready, though. Let's go." The two took their turn together, flying upwards and grasping each other's hand. The sensation of butterflies filled her stomach, and Nightingale was shot out softly onto a landing above. She found herself in a room that looked as though a massive stone chamber had been built in the air, roughly round and walled with elegant pillars. At their feet was an intricate tile mosaic. Of all the throne rooms Nightingale had seen, this one was easily the most remarkable. An elegant railing of dark stone was all that separated the chamber from a drop of at least 100 meters to the rest of the castle below. She could imagine the view in full daylight, looking out over the edge at the city below. Most impressive of all was the ceiling of stained glass. It depicted a battle in vivid detail, with two figures standing bravely against something scaly and monstrous. Nightingale guessed that the figures were Lo and Ida. It was still strange to her that such a mythic hero as Ida Zhang could still be around. Hell, she'd seen her not too long ago during their graduation ceremony. In front of them, the couple they had come to see sat atop a pair of stone
Is Ida
thrones.
his mom?
One cut
Like
from
this
black
legendary
granite
hero with those
and the
giant
other from
milkers?
white marble.
I don't think so. I don't think that's his mom. No.
This is the grandma or something.
That would be more accurate, I think, because his mom would be back in the... Unless they've been saying this whole time and I've dismissed it, that the Zhongs rule Greyhaven, and that's like where his whole family lives, and then it's Nightingale's family that's the...
Yeah, so it sounds like Zeke's family kind of runs a lot of the other towns, but not the capital.
Right. Okay, then we go to this one.
Reuniting with friends.
Ooh.
The woman resting on the black throne leapt to her feet, a wide grin spreading
Oh, it asks, do we have the story flag? Do you know which one?
Oh, Experience Guide.
Yeah, no, we don't.
Hey, we'll meet
across her
him.
face.
It says
Her
we're
long
very
black hair
friends.
cascaded down her back, and she wore slim golden jewelry around her neck, wrists, and head. Iridescent blue wings sprouted from her back, matching the color of her form-fitting dress, which flowed just below her knees. Her features were striking, but delicate, and her smile lit up her whole face. Her companion Tyrael sat beside her, listening to Patrick with interest. Tyrael had all of his father Yoon's handsomeness without the constant aloof attitude. He wore plain clothes instead of armor, though his forearms were wrapped with thick leather. His back was lined with long, massive curving spikes that ran upward from his tailbone to his shoulders. A gift from the advancement, no doubt. "Shayless, you made it! Patrick said you might be coming." Abigail hurried across the room towards them, and Nightingale felt Shayless's clammy hand slip away. "It's been so long," Abigail said, wrapping her arms around Shayless, pulling her into a tight hug. Shayless stiffened at the embrace. "Abigail, I missed you. I wanted to come visit sooner, but I know,"
But I
Abigail
didn't want
said,
to
fluttering
come.
her small wings.
I hate-
"We've all been busy." "Patrick!" Nightingale smiled at him as he made his way towards her from the thrones. "I heard you made it to the capital after all." Patrick lumbered over, holding a weapon over his shoulder. I have you guys to thank for that. Shayless and I followed you for some time. He sniffed the air. Smells like you ended up in the swamps. In either case, I'm sorry I couldn't be there to help you guys out.
Me too.
Looks like the big man here kept you safe, though. He held his hand out and Rook took it. I'm her knight, after all, he said in a formal tone. Patrick brushed his hand on his pants. More importantly, you're her friend. Thanks for being there for her. I would have killed him if anything happened to you in Romstead, Shayla said, shooting a lute towards Patrick. So I've heard. Nightingale went to slap Patrick on the back playfully, but instead stumbled and caught herself on Rook. The man held her and she mouthed the silent thank you. Patrick moved closer to her. Still have that damn creature in you then? Nightingale tried to smile and gave him a thumbs up. We've almost got what we need to get rid of it, though. Tyrael made his way towards them, joining the rest of his old friends. There was none of the forced decorum they'd seen in Romstead. The two rulers of Greyhaven didn't seem to care about formality. Tyrael clasped hands with each of them, stopping at Shayless and pulling her into an embrace. It's been way too long, Shayless. I feel like the arson shoved us out here in the middle of nowhere, and I don't get to see anyone anymore. Tyrael looked over to Zeke and smiled. I mean, look at this guy. I haven't even met my own cousin. Zeke, man, it's great to finally meet you. Tyrael enthusiastically grabbed Zeke around the shoulders and hugged him as he said it. We've all had a lot on our plates, Patrick replied, watching Tyrael harass his cousin. Zeke finally broke free and straightened his coat. Your father, Yoon, he's treated me well back in the capital. I can see the family resemblance. Yeah? Tyrael sat up straight. I'll take it as a compliment. He's probably still throwing huge parties and wasting all of our king's money, huh? My money? Shayless broke free from Abigail and rolled her eyes. You think Balthazar lets him touch the family treasury anymore? I'm surprised he hasn't been thrown out of the whole country yet, to be honest, Tyrael laughed. I appreciate the gesture of a compliment, though, Zeke. And while I detest my father's inability to govern anything, I must say, you also share a resemblance to your own father. He said it while pointing at the stained glass mural on the ceiling above them. Zeke followed his gaze. The stained glass depiction caused many of his father's features to look blocky and distorted. Zeke gave his cousin a flat stare. So I look like a character from a PlayStation 1 era JRPG? Tyrael scoffed.
Cool.
Same sense of humor, too.
Cool.
Your father would be proud. Nightingale jumped and nearly drew her weapon when she heard Remy scream behind her. What is she doing here? Remy snarled. The room went silent, and any conversations that were happening had gone quiet. Aisling stood near the railing on the far side of the room, wearing heavy manacles around her arms and legs. The bored-looking guard stood nearby, half watching his charge. Patrick tensed, putting his hand up. Relax. Aisling has been nothing but upstanding since we left Romstead. You don't need to worry. Don't need to worry? She tried to kill me, Remy barked. You think that I'm going to relax while she's running free? Aisling raised an eyebrow and held up her chained hands, rattling them noisily. Remy refused to acknowledge her. Patrick stood and took a step towards Remy. Remy, we took her to Alinea. Balthazar wasn't there. Shayless let her tag along. She helped us find you. Aisling's not off the hook for what she did. We're just keeping her here until judgment is passed. She looks like she's having a better time than us. Remy inspected Aisling up and down. Aisling's white linen clothing was clean, and she was wearing makeup and had large bows in her ridiculous hair. Well, she hasn't been in a swamp for a week, Shayless interjected. Yol might have had her put to death. Luckily for her, Patrick came to me. I decided Aisling got to help us out. I'm afraid that you have no choice in the matter, Remy. Remy approached Aisling slowly as the rest watched. The guard threw a glance to Tyrael, but otherwise didn't move. If you're expecting me... Aisling began talking and was cut short with a hard slap from Remy. Shh! Remy hushed her. I don't expect anything from you. Whoa! Nightingale had moved to her friend's side. Remy, stop! She caught Remy's arm before she hit Aisling again. Remy threw her a look she hadn't seen before. Something deadly. You're not the one that she kidnapped. Remy jerked her arm away and then picked up Gage in a mighty hug. The cat looked worried and confused as it was squished. Look, she's in shackles, Remy. Aisling's not going anywhere. Nightingale looked like she was at her limit. Sweat rolled down her brow and she stumbled again. Remy pointed and began talking as if she was going to protest, but Shayla's cut her off. Remy, my sister is in desperate need of rest. Squabble once she's saved. For now, you're not helping. Remy held Gage close to her like a stuffed animal. You're right. She turned towards Nightingale. I'm sorry, Night, she said, her tone forcibly brought back down to something level. Let's do what we came here for. Shaylis motioned to Nightingale for a half-hearted introduction. Abby, Tyrael, my little sister. Nightingale waved meekly at them as Abigail leaned in close to her. Nightingale? Nightingale Arson? She's just as pretty as you, Shaylis. Nightingale didn't appreciate the comment. She looked like shit and she knew it. Listen, it's awesome to meet you guys, but
Shit,
we're in a
she knew
really
it.
tough situation. Nightingale sounded more irritated than she wanted to. I'm sorry, but we can get to know each other better when our friend is out of danger.
All right, do we have the story flag reluctant partnership? No!
No Zephyr.
So then we go on to... where is it? This one.
Quest for justice. Nightingale explained everything she could to the Xiangs. She started with the Malama, though she was extremely vague about the details. She went over what happened in Gehenna, and eventually what happened to Justice. And that's why we need to get into the Eyrie, Nightingale finished.
Yeah, that's not
Everyone
happening.
was now gathered around the throne as she recounted the situation. Tyrael and Abigail looked at each other, expressions dark. There was a long silence, eventually broken by Tyrael. You're right. This is a serious problem. Tyrael ran his hand through his hair thoughtfully. Listen, don't think we aren't taking the threat to you or your friends seriously, but the Aegis Stone can't be destroyed, Abigail said, finishing his sentence. And I don't just mean it's impossible to break. I mean, we can't destroy it because it's the only thing keeping Greyhaven safe.
For the record, that's Tyrael
Ooh, sexy boy.
right there.
His spiky back. Okay,
Yeah, I guess,
cool.
yeah.
I know they described it. I was just...
Yep,
Tyrael's
like his hair.
Nice.
His hair's pretty dope. I mean, I gotta say, I don't think there's been like a single person's design that I'm like, this is bad.
Right.
Like I like the... Still, I love the modern fantasy take they took on it.
If it were to be destroyed or removed in any way, the Erie's monsters would be released from the Erie and be a threat to our people. We know, Nightingale said, but what about just bringing it down temporarily? Zeke interrupted. We'd only need someone to lift the barrier for a minute, just long enough for us to get in. Then they'd just have to camp out nearby and let us out again. Tyrael pointed up at the stained glass image on the ceiling. At his gesture, light flooded the room, illuminating the window in perfect clarity. Now Nightingale could see it in all its detail. It was a scene of battle, with a man and a woman dwarfed by a creature so large it could have brought down the throne room with its bulk, covered in spines and breathing death from its mouth. The Aegis Stone was not created without blood. Tyrael looked to Zeke. Your parents nearly died to get it. You have no idea what they went through or what they fought to create that stone. If it were damaged, it might be impossible to replace. You guys are the rulers here, Zeke yelled. You have to know of some other way. There has to be a secret entrance or a trick to opening it up or something. We can't just leave Justice down there. She needs our help. Zeke, think about what you're asking. Abigail looked at him with sympathy in her eyes. You're asking us to undo everything that your parents did. You're asking us to put our entire city at risk. Tyrael took a deep breath. Your parents traveled to the Middle Passage and made a deal with the lesser demon Rubicant. That deal led them into Arcala, where they had to kill a dragon. A dragon, Zeke. Think about that.
Dragon.
And then they ripped out the damn thing's heart and made the Aegis Stone from it. All to make Greyhaven a safe place to live.
So, where are Zeke's parents? Like, can they come help? Like, we know they're not old, because everyone's immortal. It's like, so you guys are just all-powerful, right?
But is Ida his mother then?
I guess so then. I mean, we could go way back and see, if I try and find the...
Have we seen his dad? I don't think we've met his dad, though.
We can see if we can find the picture of, that's the... God, you remember the trial?
Yeah.
What'd they call it? The mast? Mast
Yeah.
day. Do you remember all that? God. So that's Yol. think that's his brother. Yeah, Ida.
Ida. Yeah, damn.
Hey, Mom.
Mom.
Jesus Christ. Oh, I see you're showing your belly button again.
Yeah,
Oh, God.
That under boob.
Oh, there's a little butt. There's a little Remy butt. Little under cheek. Ooey wowie. Yeah, maybe we don't know what his dad looks like.
Okay.
But he has to be also pretty hot. Maybe he also looks insanely evil.
To attempt any magic that might bring down the barrier that the Aegis Stone is emitting, even for a moment, would put all of our lives at risk. Would your friend want you to sacrifice so many lives for herself? Zeke hesitated. No, I guess not. We know how serious this is, Abigail said. But you're all barely standing. You've been traveling for days. Enjoy our hospitality for the night. When you're rested, tomorrow we can talk more. You won't be help to anyone in the condition you're in now. Zeke looked like he was going to continue to protest, but instead he only shrugged and looked to Nightingale. Despite her desire to refuse staying the night, Nightingale let them be led away.
Made prolonged eye contact
She
for
didn't want
5
to admit
seconds,
it,
so we're in love.
But bathing, eating, and having time to calm herself was something she desperately wanted. Guilt gnawed at her for resting. Here she was getting pampered in a royal castle, while somewhere inside of a god-forsaken pit, Justice was with the Shadow Lord.
Probably.
Hanging out.
Who's this? The Shadow Lord could be cool.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, I just really needed a friend. Like, no one likes me because I go by the name Shadow Lord, but it's kind of cool, isn't it?
What, Jay? Small Jay.
Hey, what's up? Hey, Vape Nash. Do we have the story flag Last of Her Coterie? No. No, we do not. We do not have that. We have no story flags, apparently, that, so that brings us to...
That's a bad one.
A stupid boy. Rook shifted uneasily in his sleep, hearing something rust...
And there's Abigail. Looks like a little fairy.
This is the fairy.
Everyone's just so hot!
Oh, God, I'm gonna pray. I'm surging over here.
I'm gonna pray.
Was that your Obama about to fucking come?
Spin a light
I'm gonna
and a few
pray.
seconds later he was completely awake. He sat up, looking around the room. Everything seemed normal, but he'd become paranoid since Gehenna. Rook got up and poked his head out into the hallway. It was empty. He sighed in relief and had almost laid back down when he noticed Zeke's empty bed. He shot back to his feet. Zeke? Rook called tentatively. Zeke? When he heard nothing reply, he said out loud, "Oh boy." Damocles groaned, covering his face with a pillow. What is it?
Shut the
Zeke
fuck
ran
up,
off,
Rook.
Rook said, beginning to change. I can only think of one reason he'd go alone. All the gold in the castle says he's gonna try and rescue Justice. How's he going to get through the Aegis Stone's barrier? Damocles sat up and began grabbing at his nearby gear. Like Rook, he'd been prepared for trouble. He can't, Rook said, but he could get himself killed wandering through the forest. It's not going to be any safer in the middle of the night than it was earlier. Wake the others, Damocles suggested.
I'm going back to
going
bed.
to be pissed. Rook crossed the hall and knocked on the door to the girls' bedroom. Damocles was right. Shayless was pissed. Those damn Xiangs are nothing but trouble, Shayless growled as the group sped down the halls. I'm half tempted to let him get his ass kicked out there. Teach him some humility. If I can't figure out a way through the Aegis Stone's barrier, what does Zeke think he can do? Shayless asked to no one in particular. He's usually not this stupid, Nightingale muttered. He sort of lost his mind over this whole Justice situation. He needs to stop
she's
worrying
super
about
adorable.
Justice and worry about himself, Shayless said. He's going to get himself killed out there. Going alone in unfamiliar territory without even a damn map? Completely insane. A few minutes later, and they made their way to another room. Knock, knock, Shayless yelled as she rapped on a wooden door. Patrick opened up a moment later. Shayless?
Zeke has recklessly gone after Justice on his own. He is unselectable. Okay. Did the players have the story flag experience guide? Why would we? But then we go on to this one. Now I'm excited.
Yeah.
Because then we move on to...
Patrick's help.
Hey.
Patrick peered through a slightly ajar door, looking groggy. He He'd obviously been sleeping like the rest of them. Nightingale blinked, suddenly more awake at the sight. Patrick was wearing only boxers, and she could see that Patrick's entire body was covered in tattoos. Grab your
That is
gear.
bold.
I need your help. Dumbass is trying to save justice. If they were to somehow... Shayless paused, peering over Patrick's shoulder. Nightingale leaned too, curious to see what Shayless was scowling at. Squinting through the gloom, Nightingale could see a familiar girl moving under the sheets behind Patrick. Shayless leaned in so close that only Nightingale and Patrick could hear her hiss. Aisling stays. Tell a guard that she's in here. Remy would freak out if she knew you were... She paused, rolling her hand, trying to find a word. Hanging out with Aisling like an old friend. Nightingale almost blurted something at the realization that Patrick was sleeping with the girl who had tried to kill them, but Remy was only feet away, talking with Rook. She hesitated, saying anything when Shayla shook her head at her. Don't. You saw what Remy did in the throne room. We don't need the drama right now. Yeah. Patrick scratched his head and closed the door a bit more, looking ashamed. I'll meet you out front. Unbelievable, Shayla scoffed as the door slid shut. Nightingale worriedly glanced towards Remy, but her friend was none the wiser to what had just happened. A few minutes later, and they made their way to the gondolas. Shayless led them down, letting out a curse word every other minute.
Patrick joins the party.
Patrick!
There we go, baby. Patrick Brown. So, is he fucking Eiling?
They made it very clear
I
that
know they said sleeping with, but like this says, yeah, I guess so. Familiar
they were just
girl
like
in the sheets behind Patrick. Wow. I mean, can you blame him?
No, right.
Like, I would.
I mean, in this universe, everyone should be fucking everybody.
You know, it could be fucking right
we,
now.
we all be fucking right now.
Patrick.
Here, let's get to the fucking, and then we get to the dinner, and then we can talk.
And
Let's
then,
roll.
like, look, we're all not gonna last that long. Zeke will be fine. So Patrick joins the party with the inscribed shotgun, rare weapon. If this is on the
Inscribed shotgun, nice. So he gets the rare version,
yeah, he does.
buddy.
Okay, so then got some other stuff. There it is. 2 blues and a black. When determining the range of your attack, for each range greater than 1, your attack roll is reduced by 1. Because it's a shotgun. Then, when making an attack with this weapon, make 2 separate attacks against the same target, then flip this card after resolving this ability. Then you may re-equip. Follow up, push 2, force 10, plus the difference hit. Okay. So
blam.
So it's a kablam, then yeah, 2. I guess you can still attack with it. It's just 2 gray. No, you can hit with it. It becomes a melee.
And if you get a star, it's a free reload.
It is a
right?
free reload,
Nice.
yep. So Patrick always has the right tool. His ability is when Patrick uses a consumable, make a lore 10 check if he succeeds. It just goes to the party stash. Nice. Weaponsmith. I don't think we've read about him, have we? There's no reason why. Patrick always had it easy, and he knew it.
I think we did.
Did
we
we?
read him when he was his companion.
You're right.
It's probably the
You're
same.
You're right. Okay, so he also joins with a random rare core armor, a random rare relic, and 100 gold. Then
Okay.
Patrick gains XP equal to the total XP earned by the party so far, so he'd have the same as Shayless, which is 38.
Well, I think hers was a flat number. Didn't it just say a number?
I don't think so. I thought we added it all up.
Let me see where Rook's at right now. 4, 5, 6, 7,
So-
7, 6, 12.
So he has his own 100 gold, or is that 100 gold added to ours?
Out of ours.
Okay.
18,
So we almost have 1,000 gold.
25.
So random.
How much does Rook have left over?
6.
Yeah, 39.
Okay. 39? Okay, because Shayless has 38 somehow. So let's give him the same. 38. Okay, random, rare core, or armor.
I think cores, man.
You think cores?
Cores are like the core of our defense. Like it raises that the number to even strike us.
Yeah, but the fact that his shotgun needs to be right up on him.
I mean, right now we're sitting at 1, 2. What was it? We have 3 with his. Well, possibly 3 rare cores now.
Well, yeah, the angel symbols that we put on Nightingale.
Well, that's a no. That's a. Yeah.
Oh, that's a relic. Yeah. The homemade brooch,
We have a rare armor from
which is actually with Zeke.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Oh, yes. And that one. You got this one.
So the random relic he starts with is
I love it.
it's his sunglasses.
Oh yes.
Close anyway. Very close.
I'm
No,
glad.
oh no, I drew it.
Oh, okay.
He can dodge once per encounter for the start of a round, reshuffle the initiative cards, and deal out the initiative track again.
Nice.
But just an exhaust dodge. That is still very appropriate.
Alacrity. That's sexy.
Yeah, because he also joins with a random rare core / armor, so I'm guessing you have to pick.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd almost go armor, but regardless, let's see. He may learn any disciplines he has enough XP for. Then record all this information on the adventure sheet. From this point forward, players may choose to play as Patrick. Players are still limited to 4 adventurers, so I want to play as Patrick because my boy Zeke's gone. So we will build that separately.
I guess I'll take Shayless. I'll kid her out.
You're going to do Shayless?
Yeah, I'll build her while you build Patrick. That way we're both
Okay.
building somebody.
Who are you taking away then?
One of these.
Probably Rook.
Rook's been kind of slacking lately. I do like his buffs and everything. But...
Random rare, core, or armor. I'm gonna go with armor, man.
All right.
I just feel better. Let me just choose which one. Let me give him this one. I'm so surprised that Patrick's fucking raw dogging.
Fucking raw
Isling.
dogging Isling.
He keeps those.
Yeah,
handcuffs
nobody has
on
to
her.
wrap it because nobody gets pregnant in this universe.
Is that a real thing?
Yeah,
Is
everyone's
that
infertile. That was
Oh
the
no, you're
price
right.
of
That is the whole point
immortality.
of them going back to Earth to have kids, and then yeah.
So yeah, it's just orgies all day long.
Because, yeah, whenever you go back to Earth, you start aging again.
Mm-hmm.
That wouldn't be bad if you're like, I don't want to be 18 anymore. And you just kind of go back to Earth to age up a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, you got that one. The Plate of Superiority.
We already got that one. Draw it.
Do we?
Yeah.
Oh. Oh, is that on?
I gave it to Rook for now.
Alright, that one. The Ethereum Coat. We already got that.
That's messy.
So, no armor, but plus 12 hit points, plus 1 movement, exhaust dodge. If you successfully dodge, you can counter. This encounter has follow-up. Move 1 space without provoking break attacks. When making the dodge, if you don't roll a skull, add 1 to your defense. Okay, cool. Cool. I feel like Patrick, if Remy found out she was hooking up, he's like, hey, I mean, nothing says you can't join. Okay, well, then we will continue to the forest at night, but I think that's a good place to stop so we can kid out our peeps. So... That was nice. It was glad that I'm happy they came back.
Yeah,
that was
glad
pretty
that
cool.
that made full circle. I'm glad it finally came back around.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping, for whatever reason, Aisling would be an ally. Like, would
I'm
be
almost
the
curious.
party.
I bet you now that they're gonna have a guard outside the room, I bet you she escapes.
Think.
It's just some break. He's dead. That guard, whenever it's like, hey, you're gonna guard her, he's like, cool. By the way, just so you guys know, I retire next week.
Oh, you should have said that.
Yeah, damn, I was rooting for you, man.
You hit a flag there,
what
buddy.
do you mean? Have a good one. Anyway, so that's it, everyone. I hope you enjoyed. Stick around for the rest of the series. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.